The old man took off his hat and found a halo had appeared on his head. He tapped the halo with his hand, and a clear, crisp sound rang out. It turned out the old man had died at this station. In the center of the city stood a small station. Every day at 6 o'clock in the afternoon, the old man would sit on a bench there, habitually leaving an empty spot beside him. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew, lifting the old man's hat into the air. Memories of 20 years ago flooded his mind. Back then, he was a young man, nearly missing a date because he was late. But the woman wasn't angry. She took out a hat and gave it to him. In the days that followed, the woman would always sit on the right side of the bench. That way, she could greet him as quickly as possible when he arrived. Finally, the man proposed to her. He took out a ring and slipped it onto her ring finger. From that day on, they walked hand in hand and built a family together. Their happy days didn't last long. The man was drafted to the front lines, forced to separate from his wife. On the day they parted, they hugged tightly at the station. The pregnant woman watched as his train pulled away. In the days after, the woman often came to the station, waiting for her husband to return. A year later, their child was born. She would bring the baby to the station to wait. As the child grew older, her husband still hadn't come home. 3 years later, a bus pulled into the station. It was the man, finally returning. In that first moment of meeting, he dropped his luggage and hugged his wife tightly. It was the little boy's first time seeing his dad. Excited, he put his hat on the man's head. Their family was finally reunited. The old man watched all this, but he wasn't happy because 5 years later, his wife fell seriously ill. He held her hand and took her to the station, waiting for the bus called death. In the end, they smiled at each other, and she boarded the bus alone. She looked back at him with longing, knowing she would never return. After that, the man turned and walked away, merging into the old man's form. When the old man woke again, he was back in the present. In the next second, he noticed the watch in his hand had stopped moving. He touched his head in confusion, only to find his hat was floating above his head. No matter how hard he pushed down, it wouldn't stay. The old man took off the hat and discovered the halo on his head. He had passed away. All those scenes he'd seen were memories from his life. At that moment, a bus slowly pulled up. The old man looked closely, then his face lit up with shock. He saw his wife coming to meet him. They hugged again, just like they had decades before. Life would eventually reach its end. Perhaps those who leave first are just boarding the bus ahead of time. When our time comes to grow old, they'll be on the last bus, coming to pick us up.